I'm Jennifer Lee, lead admin evangelist at Salesforce. And in this episode of How I Solved It, we're diving deep into a real-world challenge that every admin can relate to, dealing with outdated data and users who aren't always working directly in Salesforce. Sound familiar? But don't worry, we got a solution. If you're ready to supercharge your workflows and keep your data on point, you won't want to miss this. See how awesome admin Paolo Sambrano solved it, all without breaking a sweat. Today, I'm joined by awesome admin Paolo Sambrano. Paolo was on season 2 of our limited series, How I Solved It, on Salesforce Plus. So if you missed it, check out the video using the short link that you see flash on the screen. Welcome to the Salesforce Admin's YouTube channel, How I Solved It, Paolo. How are you?
Jan, thank you so much for having me. This is an honor. I'm so happy to be here today with you. It's really exciting. So
I'm excited to have you on as well. So before we dive into your use case and solution, let's get to know you a bit better. So you've told me that you've been in the Salesforce ecosystem since 2005. And so as we say in Boston, that's a wicked long time.
No, right? Oh,
So let me ask you this. What do you enjoy most about working on the platform?
I think for me, I think it's solving these little itches that people have. I think I love sort of pointing out inefficiencies or getting offended on my stakeholders' behalf when it's this process, I have to go from this thing to that thing and I have to manually do this data load. And then I think the fact that I can use something like Flow to just solve it like that, that's something that could take me 30 minutes, an hour, but it's saving them 45 minutes every couple of weeks. I think that's what really feels good. And then just having Flow as being a sandbox, I feel is really empowering, because I feel most of the stuff that I built, it's if you can dream it, you can probably do it. I love working in different modalities. I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, I can use a screen flow. I can use an auto launch flow that goes in the background. I can do something scheduled. So a lot of it is just sort of figuring out those business requirements, and then me coming in from a technical end, just sort of synthesizing that. And I think that's just incredibly satisfying for me.
Yeah. And I know building automation is an admin superpower. So how did you get started with Flow, and what would you say is an automated solution that you're most proud of that you've built?
Oh my gosh. So when I was going for my admin cert in 2017, and I think I was on Trailhead for that, I think I had a DE, a developer org or Trailhead playground. And I believe one of the challenges was Flow. And it was I think I got this. And then I hit a wall with something around resources. Because again, I was coming in. I've been in the ecosystem since '05, but I will tell you what, most of my experience as an end user prior to that was entering business card data as an end user in 2005. Mm-hmm. I even said famous last words. I was well, I used to input business cards in 2005. How hard could it be to get your admin cert? So I absolutely learned my lesson from that. But I think when I got my gig at Common Sense Media, I was lucky enough to basically go through all of my predecessors old flows. And I think I just took that time to kind of study up. And I like to think that I have a mind for reverse engineering things. And I think just finally just tracing those steps and just tracing oh, that's what a variable does. And just I'm not going to say this is reductive because it helps me learn it, but then distilling kind of variables and stuff like that to oh, this is just algebra. And then you just sort of trace the path, because Flow, is a graphical user interface. That's what kind of cracked the code for me, was just kind of looking at previous flows, trying to figure out what it does. And then when I started building my flows, just see if I could replicate that. So I think that's how I got started with it, or started to get that muscle memory going. And as far as favorite stuff, I'm gonna say too, The first one is the case management system that I built a couple of years ago, that was the solution on how I solved it on Salesforce Plus. So if you liked seeing me, you can see how I built that. That felt like a kind of a coming out party for me, as far as like, oh, you've arrived, like this is a skill that you've mastered, because we basically had to kind of consolidate all of like our internal case management into this singular screen flow. So basically having to talk to the business stakeholders from, let's say, like finance or HR or IT, and then having to figure out the little quirks in their business processes, and then having to combine it all into like a screen flow with like its branching logic and conditional stuff. So that felt like a huge win. And then I alluded to this earlier, but I built a pretty simple screen flow for someone in our development our fundraising team to reconcile opportunities, because her old business process was like, I have to go to this opportunity and then like transpose the data onto this one, and then I have to log a request for the first opportunity. And I was like incensed on like her behalf. And that's that moment where it's like, no, I can throw flow at this. Like, I can do this. And I think that's another thing. Like, I love that optimism that I like kind of get. Yeah, no, I can do this. I can fix this. And the stuff that I don't know, I can research, because the community is incredibly helpful and there's like a wealth of information. So that also felt very good to do. So yeah, that's me and
Yeah,
flow.
I know for me, like when I built automation, it's just so empowering to like help people. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you did this in like so many steps. I can make it so that you only do it in 2 steps or something like amazing like that.
That's I feel like in a past life I was like a game designer, and that's a whole different story. But like thinking about how like systems interact with each other, and thinking about like user experience of like, why do I have to go through all these things to do the thing that I want to do in this game? And that transposed perfectly when I started working on Salesforce, working with Flow, because then you start thinking about like, why, if the good stuff is getting to like create a case in like 2-3 clicks, then why are you having the user do all of this? And that makes you want to refine and think further about your solution. Like that's, so then basically the log line for my case management is like, it used to take, I forget, like 9-10 clicks for someone to log a case previously, and I took it down to 4. Like that is so good, you know?
Exactly. So let's have you share with us the business problem that you're trying to solve.
I would love to do that. So at our organization, executive management wanted a dashboard to basically show metrics tracking all of our KPIs across our 3 verticals. And that's built in CRM analytics. And the thing is, our CMN analytics dashboard is built from data from Salesforce. And so that would mean the people responsible for like making sure that data is updated, they have to go into Salesforce to do that. And the thing is, while we are a big Salesforce shop, not everyone uses Salesforce on the day-to-day. And that's fine, because if you don't have to be in there necessarily all the time, that's totally cool. We get it. So then the thought of like, I could create a screen flow and then put it on them so they can just do that. Again, so what we just were literally talking about, like, why would you want to do that? So the thing is, we are also a big Slack shop. Everyone's on Slack every single day, which is great, because with like the Salesforce and Slack integration that I built up, I could basically solve that use case of making sure that our data is always going to be updated on time, and our users don't have to like system switch from, let's say, Slack into Salesforce to do something that, like, honestly, like every month I just need you to update the data. So instead of them having to do all that remembering and all of that like mental overhead, the automation I built literally just says like, every month you're going to get a message in Slack to input your data, and you're going to put that number in, and you're good.
Started talking about your solution. So now I'm really excited to be able to see it. We admins need to see how you do things and set up. So Paolo, Show us how you built it.
Oh, I would absolutely love to. To simulate that use case, I basically built a new custom object called Cool Metrics that's going to house all of our records, that's going to feed into this here dashboard that I created. And again, let's kind of simulate our original use case. Let's say I'm working for an organization that wants to know how many skateboard kick flips that I did every month. If you don't know what a kickflip is, just pretend I said handstand push-up or something. So, thing is, this report, this little widget is powered by Salesforce data. And the thing is, how can we get from this demo Slack instance into Salesforce so that this dashboard can be updated at a timely fashion? All right, so I'm going to show you how I solved this on the Slack side of things. I'm going to show you Slack Workflow Builder, which in the interest of full disclosure, you do need a paid Slack plan to do that. So, use case, stale data, and making sure data is updated on a timely basis. We do that with Slack Workflow Builder by having it tell that we want it to go on a schedule. There's other ways to fire workflows. You can use an emoji. You can use when someone uses a channel. But again, we wanted to get this on a schedule. So let's say we want to have this run today at about 1 p.m. at the specific time zone. And frequency, we can set it to daily, weekly, monthly, annually. We can do custom, so we can just have it run every 90 days or something. So that's how we're going to get it to our users' hands in Slack. Now, this is the good stuff. So once we get in our users' hands, like what do we want it to do? Well, we're going to use these steps on our right-hand side to kind of build those like steps and these actions. And just a quick like detour, you can do a lot of things like out of the box with Slack Workflow Builder. I mean, like all of these like integrations just come out of it. All of these Slack actions, you can create a channel, you can update a list. There's a lot of stuff you can do. And if we scroll down, you'll see that we have our Salesforce integration right here. We're going to keep that in top of mind because we're going to come back to that. So, workflow fires. What is it going to do? Well, first, we want it to send a message to me. We have a little message. Cool. Let us know that it's time for me to enter how many radical kick flips I did this month. Great. 2, we need to get those kick flips in somewhere. So in Slack, there is a form feature where we can add questions and we can assign what kind of information it is. How many did I do? That's a number. So we add that. Now, third step, we're going to run a flow. I mean, like you can see to your right, lots of things you can do. You can use an auto launch flow that you build in your Slack instance to basically fire, and we can move that variable in. And I'll get to that flow in a second. And then lastly, this is a confirmation message. I kind of like the cheeky, I'm just going to return the value that you came back to me with. And then person who submitted it, it's really fun. So before I kind of show you how to demo this, I want to show you the flow that I used. So I know folks love building those like 100 plus kind of giant screen taking flows with branching logic and all of that stuff. And that's really cool to see. But again, for our use case, we just need data to be created. So that's the flow I used. Like, that's it. It's going to create a new cool metrics object. We're going to take the variable var kickflip number that we assigned from our workflow on the Slack side of things to create a record. That's really it. It's pretty simple. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and see it in action. There it is. Our enter cool metrics app, our friendly message. How many kickflips did we do? We hit continue. We open up that form element I talked about. We're let's say I did 23. Because let's say I was inspired by the Olympics or something. And we're going to hit submit. Now the flow's firing in the background. It's doing its thing. And it worked. And because it worked, we're going to get this cool confirmation message. That's also like self-affirming, where it's like, that's really cool. You did 23 kickflips. And thanks for submitting your kickflips, me. So that's the Slack side of things. Let's go into Salesforce. So like I said, we're back on the Salesforce side. It's our cool metrics object. This is where our data is going to live. Let's hit reload. There it is. New cool metrics record that says that I did 23 kickflips in the month of August. And now, for the prestige of it all, let's reload this report. There it is. August 2024, I did 23 kickflips, which is a marked improvement from April, where I only did 2. That's how we can use Slack Workflow Builder and Salesforce to make sure that our data is always going to be up to date, and our users, we can meet our users where they work. And bonus, I will show you how you can do this with Flow for Slack. I know I said that Workflow Builder was a paid product. It's fine. We can use Flow for Slack, which is out of the box with Salesforce. Basically do the same thing. And I'll show you how we did it really quickly. Basically, all of the principles are the same. The only thing is we are working directly in Salesforce. We don't necessarily need to interface with Slack. I'm going to asterisk that, as you'll probably see in a second. All right, to solve this using Flow for Slack, we're going to need 2 flows. We need 1 flow to actually fire the screen flow. And what we're looking at is a scheduled flow. Like I said, the use case was every month we need this flow to fire to remind our users in Slack that they need to enter their data. So we're going to use this to kind of kick everything off. So you can see we are setting a schedule. We can only do up to weekly. So that's one quirk with scheduled flows. But let's let it rock anyway. If we click into the action right here, that's what I meant with like interfacing with Slack. Like there's some configuration you need to do on your Slack and Salesforce side just to link the things together. But once you do that, it's off to the races. So once we get this out of the way, here's the screen flow. And it's literally just like the first flow I showed you, the auto launch flow with the work builder solution. The only difference is that we're building the form element here in ScreenFlow. So again, kickflips done. You saw that on the workflow part of this demo. Another create records element. We're going to do kickflips done. And then the cool thing about Flow for Slack is that it launches the flow directly into Slack. So it's not like an abstraction. It's not like a transposition. It's not like, no, it's like pure strange ScreenFlow. All right, so we're going to demo the Flow for Slack solution. And so the nice thing that I like about working with Flow for Slack when I'm working with these scheduled flows is that I don't need to put in a time and then wait and then vamp. I can just do this. I can hit debug. And then look, we're back in our Slack instance. Here's my Salesforce for Slack app. Here's me saying to enter my metrics. We're going to submit. There's that screen flow that I built. That's flow in action. Let's say I did 42. So I was really putting in an effort. We're going to hit next. It's going to create that record. I don't know why I gave myself such a brutalist confirmation message, but here we are. Let's close out. Let's go back to our cool metrics object in Salesforce. We're going to hit reload. And there we go. 42 kickflips done. And again, just so that we can close the loop, let's reload this report. 42 kickflips. So right now in August, I did 65 kickflips. And that's really good. And again, I sliced and diced it from the Slack side of things using Workflow Builder and Flow, and I did it on the Salesforce side with Flow and a little bit of like technical configuration on my side just to get things set up. All right, so let's quickly recap my solutions. I use Slack Workflow Builder and Flow Builder to send scheduled message to our stakeholders at a regular cadence to create with Flow new records for our CRM analytics dashboard. This process ensures that our dashboards will always be kept up to date. Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Paolo, for showing us how you use either Flow Builder using Flow for Slack and Slack Workflow Builder to bring a process to meet your users where they are. Amazing. And thanks for being a guest on How I Solved It.
Jen, that's really kind of you. Thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute blast.
You just saw Paolo Sambrano take on a real-world business challenge and deliver a creative solution, keeping data fresh and stakeholders informed, all with the power of Slack Workflow Builder and Flow Builder. I hope this episode inspired you to think outside the box when it comes to solving your own admin challenges. With the right tools and a little innovation, you can turn any problem into an opportunity for success. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to check out our website, admin.salesforce.com, for content created for you. And hit that subscribe button on our Salesforce Admins YouTube channel for more episodes of How I Solved It. And hey, don't be a stranger. We'll catch you in the next episode for some more admin magic. Hey, awesome admins, Jennifer Lee here, your lead admin evangelist. And I have an exciting announcement just for you. Mark your calendars for November 7th because I'm hosting a special edition live stream of How I Solved It. I've invited a few of our past stars, Dee Irvin, Carrie Webster, Sky Taylor, and Brandon Walton, to take on the same business challenge. And each of them will share their unique approach, walk us through their thought process, and even demo their solutions live. So head over to the link on the screen to access the live stream page and set the reminder so you don't miss a moment. And trust me, you'll want to be there. Can't wait to see you all.
Awesome admin.